Look at this clip, guys. Joe Rogan is now turning against President Trump.
I like that part. I don't like the Iran war thing, but I like that.
You don't like the concept that Iran can no longer have nuclear weapons? I think that's better than a UFC fight.
That is a good concept.
Right?
However, I don't necessarily know there's a clear way to get out of this.
There is no clear way to get out of this, indeed, Mr. Joe Rogan, who voted for Donald Trump,
Yeah, who endorsed Donald Trump, who actually in every podcast during election campaign, he was endorsing President Trump. And he don't see any way to get out of this war. And Trump just went to this war. Everybody is facing inflation. Everybody is tired now. They are literally tired. And it's been, 93 to 94 days now. And the war is still going on. There is a ceasefire between both of the countries, but still they are attacking each other.
campaigned for Donald Trump, had Donald Trump on his podcast. But as you see right here and through many different examples we've talked about on the show over time, the MAGA movement has been falling apart and it's been a slow collapse. I mean, it was not going to happen overnight. We know that. But a year and a half to Donald Trump's presidency and the major podcasters have turned on him. That's a little bit faster than I expected. And his approval rating is now at around a 30% kind of range, which is devastating if you're a president of the United States in politics and you have the midterm elections coming up. So Joe Rogan just turned on Donald Trump in a recent episode on his podcast, and I want to show you everything he just said. And actually, something in this clip that he just mentioned is very relevant to something that took place today involving Iran, with Donald Trump at the center of it, of course, and we will talk about that as well. So just take a look at what Joe Rogan had to say. He actually seemed to be debating the guest, who seems to be very pro-Trump and very pro-Iran war, and Rogan is actually taking a different stance from the status quo that Trump has been pushing. Take a look.
I like that part. I don't like the Iran war thing, but I like that.
You don't like the concept that Iran can no longer have nuclear weapons? I think that's better than a UFC fight.
That is a good concept.
Right?
However, I don't necessarily know there's a clear way to get out of this. And if you know what we did in Afghanistan for 20 years and how much American taxpayer dollars were spent and how many people lost their lives.
But in Afghanistan, it felt like they were just sweeping out like goat farmers and guys hiding in caves. Whereas here, there's a directive where they're preventing a rebel country from having a bomb that could annihilate portions of our planet.
That's true.
I think that's a much clearer and more positive agenda than wiping out guys living in the hills of Afghanistan, creating opium.
That's true if it made sense. The problem is...
President Trump thought it is like Venezuela. He will go and win in one day. But it's not Venezuela. It's Iran. They are still controlling the Strait of Hormuz.
I had Scott Horton on the podcast explaining what is actually involved in making depleted uranium and making it weapons grade and what would have to be done in order to get it to a bomb level. It's very difficult.
Right.
It's not as simple. And they weren't nearly capable of doing that.
Not nearly, but pursuing.
It's a good question because they were he was also saying they were being inspected on a regular basis. And essentially this is Israel wanting us to go to this war. Israel wants, well, and it makes sense. If I was Israel, if we were America and Mexico had nukes pointed at us or whatever, it's not nukes, but you know what I'm saying? Like if they were trying to build a nuke, if Mexico and America were constantly in conflict and Mexico was trying to build a nuclear bomb, that would be a good reason where America would want to go fuck up Mexico. Like, hey, you can't have a nuclear bomb. This is Israel's position. Right. So Israel's right there with Iran. They're close enough. They're throwing missiles at each other. I get why they would want it. I just don't know if it's a good thing for America. And I don't know if there's a way out of it.
Well, I think what we have to look at is the bigger scope. If not America cleaning it up, who does it? Who has the power and the wherewithal to do it?
We've used like 2/3 of our missiles doing it.
Yeah, but
it leaves us vulnerable if there's any other kind of a conflict. We're like underarmed right now.
Yet we are very underarmed. That is actually something that the Pentagon will no longer answer questions about. Pete Hegseth got that question before in a press briefing and just moved on because he doesn't want to talk about it. And they're lying about the missile numbers we've had. We've used around 2/3, maybe even more at this point. We are significantly depleted and weakened. We don't have enough munitions in the Middle East. A lot of munitions have been used up here in the United States and, of course, different locations we have around the world. That is a major issue. And Joe Rogan is actually right about there not being a clear way out. We talked about this on the show earlier today, but just days after Donald Trump said a deal with Iran is imminent. He's been saying this, for how many months now? He's done this like 6 different times. But after saying a deal is imminent, we're right there. Iran shut down negotiations today, and Donald Trump's position is, I don't care if Iranian negotiations are over. Great! So we're going to be in a forever war with Iran, which of course many people are nervous about, very, very nervous about. And final point I want to make on this guy who is debating Rogan, who is on the opposite side of him. Iran only started enriching their uranium past a set level after Donald Trump tore up the Iran nuclear deal that was negotiated by Obama. And the only
why nobody's talking about Iran and Obama, deal? Nobody's gonna talk about that. Only Trump is saying, I have destroyed them. I'm the winner. He's announcing victory every day on national TV, and he's saying, I have destroyed their everything, Air Force, Navy.
only reason that Donald Trump
What kind of navy they have? They're still controlling Strait of Hormuz. So how President Trump have destroyed the navy?
tore up that deal is because he didn't like that it was negotiated by Obama. That's all it is. He didn't want to give Obama a win. He wanted the deal gone, and now we're in this position. So how about whoever this guy is? I actually don't know who he is. How about you take that to your MAGA buddies and let them know that. Let them know that interesting piece of information. And what's also fascinating is Donald Trump, after the announcement that Iran is shutting down negotiations, he spoke to an NBC reporter. He said, I don't care if they're over. Honestly, I really don't care. I couldn't care less if they're over. They're over. If they're not, I think they took too much time. Frankly, I thought they started to get very boring. Yes, because our president is a toddler who has to be constantly entertained, and if not, he will pull out of negotiations and just make everybody's life much harder. Then Donald Trump, just minutes later, seems to correct course at 1:43, saying talks are continuing at a rapid pace with Iran. Thanks for your attention to this matter. This tweet, the news report from the NBC reporter, was posted at 1:29. Trump posts this at 1:43, and that's not a joke. He really uploaded this just minutes after learning that these negotiations were shut down. So he went from, I don't care if they're over, then that's fine, no problem, to saying, no, actually, the talks are continuing at a rapid pace. He also announced that he had a productive conversation with Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, and that there will be no troops going to Beirut, and any troops that are on their way have already turned back. Likewise, through highly placed representatives, I had a very good call with Hezbollah, and they agreed that all shooting will stop, that Israel will not attack them, and they will not attack Israel. I will also remind folks at home that we've had agreements in place that are very similar to this, according to Donald Trump, and they've always blown up.
President Trump was a person who opposed wars. After becoming a president, he was saying again and again, I'm against the war, and if I am the president, I will end every war in this world. And then what happened? Even during the second term, in the first year, now it's been 1.5 years of President Trump's second term presidency, but in 1 year, he was saying, I'm a peacemaker, I deserve Nobel Peace Prize, I have stopped 8 wars in the world, I have stopped many wars in the world, so I deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. But I don't know what happened to President Trump. He again started a war himself. Look, he's a peacemaker. Then he starts a war himself. And now the war is going on, and it's been 92 to 93 days still going on, and there is kind of ceasefire, but it's not a ceasefire. They're attacking each other right now, and he's saying we are very close to deal. You have listened to President Trump so many times. He's saying we are very close to this deal, and it's been 90 days. It's like a 90 days and 90 days that Trump promised during election campaign that if I become a president for the second time, I will make 90 deals in 90 days. And he failed at the 90 deals as well. And now he is failing in this deal as well. He sent a lot of people to Islamabad for the negotiation, but the negotiations were failed. He sent J.D. Vance. But now I think President Trump don't like J.D. Vance. He himself wants to take credit for everything. That's why the negotiations at Pakistan were failed when J.D. Vance was there. So President Trump wants to take credit himself. That's my personal opinion. What do you say? What is your opinion? What are your random thoughts? Let me know in the comment section, guys. I want to read your comments. So please, if you have anything in your mind, please let me know in the comment section, guys.